If you were no longer affected by the judgment of others and you stopped judging yourself, would you make different choices? Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here's the host of Inspired Choices Radio Show, Possibilities Coach, Christine McIver.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am your host, Christine McIver, here on the Inspired Choices Radio Show on the Inspired Choices Network. So what's going on in your world? Is your world a little upside down of late? Well, tonight we are going to be talking about how do I know that I can trust my knowing? And that is a title, that is a subject, that is a capacity that, I know a number of people giggling about that I'm finally acknowledging and talking about, most especially my producer, Melitza, tonight. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So if this is your first time connecting or listening in, thank you for joining. Whether you're listening live or in the replay, I'm super, super grateful that you're here. And I just want to tell you a little bit about me. So first and foremost, I am a radio show host. I am a producer here on the Inspired Choices Network, and I am honored to be the creator and owner of the Inspired Choices Network. This is something that came to fruition over the last nearly 5 years now, and I'm thrilled that we host people from all over the world bringing their voices to the platform so that the world can expand. So that's one of the things that I do. Prior to that, I became a professionally trained coach. I work one-on-one with individuals. I love working with people in the areas of maybe starting their own business or expanding their personal business. I love working with individuals and families, couples, and when it comes to relationships, when it comes to possibly self-confidence, knowing the direction that they need to be going in, that they desire to go in, but maybe they're not quite sure how to get there. And I also do different energy healing. I do a thing called access bars and body processes. So I love to do a lot of different things, but one of my most favorite things to do is to work with someone who is creating or expanding their business and they're stuck and they're not quite sure how to kind of bring all this online opportunity together. It can be so overwhelming, and it certainly was overwhelming for me when I first started. But now one of the things that I do is I do actually business strategy sessions with individuals, and I help to bring all of that together, teaching you how you can truly have pleasure with your business. So if any of these things jump for you, if you'd like to know more, or if you'd just like to have a session with me for free, you can have the first 30 minutes for free. You can connect with me at inspiredchoices.ca or send me an email, Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Let's connect, let's talk, and let's really look at how we can move you forward in your desires, because you know what? You deserve to have everything come to fruition. I know that, and I hope you know that too. So we'll get together. We'll talk about the tools that you're looking for, the places where you feel like there's a gap in your business, a gap in your knowing on how to step forward. And you know what? We'll close that gap and we'll create a lot of pleasure doing it. So thank you for everyone that's joining me in the chat room. If you're listening live and you'd love to come over to the chat room and ask me questions and play with us in there, we have a good time. You can do that at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Click on the menu bar where it says chat room, pop in a name, your real name, a fake name, it doesn't really matter, and come and play. We have a lot of fun in there. So tonight, how do I know that I can trust my knowing? Trusting your knowing. Do you know how to do it? Have you been looking to make the quote-unquote right decision and you are left with more doubt and questions than making the best choice? Trust. What does it really mean to trust you and to trust that you are making the best choice. This step is critical in learning to make deliberate choices for your greatest success. Well, let me tell you, my friends, I have been on a journey in my life, and I wonder if what I'm going to share with you tonight about my journey might resonate with you in some way as well. I was indoctrinated into the Catholic religion, and I went to school with very small classrooms, so people really knew who you were, and they really kind of knew all of your business. And in doing that, they often would, project a great deal at you. And there was a lot of judgment, and there was a lot of expectation. And the really crazy thing was that if you weren't living up to a standard, if you weren't following the guidelines of the Catholic religion or of the expectations of your teachers, your authorities, there was a shit ton of projection at you about your capacities and your choices. And when someone is actually projecting that kind of doubt, that kind of judgment rather, about your choices, you cannot help but start to judge yourself and judge your choices. Because if you are seriously in this place of being judged like crazy and you don't have the self-confidence, or maybe you don't have the evidence, that's the word. You don't have the evidence that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, you can just start to go down so quickly into that space of doubt. And if you've not ever been around people that actually trust their knowing from a place of kindness, that they will really kind of guide you and support you and be your cheerleader, but they're doing this from a place of superiority, they're really being an asshole towards you, then all they're doing is they're telling you they know more than you do, which actually has you go into more and more of that doubt. Right? Like, it's this crazy space of, I'm alone out here and I must be wrong because everybody is projecting this stuff at me. Right? Does that ring for anybody? Oh my gosh, we got a comment in the chat room. I got to read this to you. So Alfie Joe says, judgment in the church? No way. What? All because they couldn't see the true light through their crap and then twisted it all up. Exactly. That's what goes on so much. And it's still going on very much in society today. We aren't actually encouraged to learn to trust ourselves. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about parenting and how parents inadvertently teach you to doubt yourself. If they don't mean to. I know that my parents didn't mean to. I know that I didn't mean to with my kids, but this is what we do, okay? Is our children make a choice, or we make a choice, okay? We make a decision, we make a choice. And it doesn't, quote unquote, turn out the way that we had perhaps desired, or our children had perhaps desired. And we want to protect our children. Our parents want to protect us. So we run in and we go, oh, Billy, no, darling, you should have chosen this. You know what? I want you to be safe. I want you to be happy. So go over here and choose this. And so what does Billy start to do? Billy starts to doubt himself because he's now given the quote-unquote right answer. He isn't encouraged or asked any questions, right? So this is what we do as parents. This is what our parents did for us because they wanted to protect us. And in that protection, that desire to protect us because they invoke their fear on what might happen, the same bullshit they were fed, right? What they are actually doing is they're projecting doubt into our world. And they're saying, honey, you don't really know. You need to learn from me because I know better. You know what I say to that, my friends?
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horseshit.
That's one of my favorite buttons, is the bullshit button. And that's exactly what all of that is. It's bullshit. It's bullshit when somebody projects this crap at you. It's bullshit when you know what you know and someone else comes in and they try to quote-unquote protect you. My darlings, you don't need protection, and you most certainly do not need projection. You don't need somebody projecting their knowing at you. And here's a big question. Can somebody know what you know about you, or can someone actually know what's best for you, what will actually create greater for you when it's yours? Somebody can't know what's right for you. Somebody can't know what's light for you. Somebody else cannot know verbatim what will create greater in your world for you. That's you, baby. Only you. Exactly, Alfie Joe. Only one you, babes. Exactly. If you are willing to really step out in the world and create what you desire, it begins with trusting your knowing. It always begins with trusting your knowing. Now, here's what I know. And this I learned over a long period of time, and it was really, really painful. You know way more than you've ever been given credit for and that you've ever given yourself credit for. You have always known. I want you to go back to when you were a very small child, before the age of 2. And if you don't remember that time, no problem. I want you to bring up in your mind a 2-year-old or under that you know, even an infant at, like 3 months. I want you to bring them up in your mind. And I want you to look at them right now, or look at yourself. Did you know what you wanted when somebody started putting food in your mouth? Hell yes, you did. Because you would either open your mouth wide and smile, or you would clench your mouth shut and shake your head. You knew. You knew what you wanted. You knew what was going to light you up, and you knew what was going to work. And there is no feeding an infant or a small child if they don't want it. Have you ever had that stuff thrown in your face? Or maybe they put it in your mouth and they spit it back at you? That's not pretty. Let me tell you. And you will do that for a long period of time. Try to get a kid to eat what you think they should eat, or what you know that they should like. And eventually, you will give them what they are asking for so they won't starve to death. Trust me. This I know both personally and from watching a very large family and watching lots of parents trying to struggle with babies. Babies know what they know, and they know what they are desiring. Now, about age of 3, that starts to get kicked out of us. That's where the projection really starts at about the age of 3. And this is where people start to enact this fear onto us. This is where they start to create the doubt in our world because they want us to succeed. But I'm telling you, no one ever succeeded from following somebody else's knowing without checking if that was truly true for them. So we are going to go for our first break. And when we get back, I'm going to really start to show you how you can start to trust your knowing and giving you some simple, deliberate steps on creating that. And I know this on a personal level because I'm going to out myself right now. It's probably consciously, I have not been trusting my knowing. Maybe it's been about a year and a half that I've really trusted my knowing. So I've been on this earth in this body for, I would say, 53 years before I truly started to trust my own knowing. I've taken a lot of classes. I've followed a lot of gurus to learn how to trust my knowing. And to the point that I used to say, would somebody please just make this decision for me? Because I didn't trust myself. And so, finally getting over my bullshit lie that I couldn't trust me, I'd love to invite more people into how much easier this truly, truly can be. Okay, so you are listening to Christine McIver on the Inspired Choices radio show here on the Inspired Choices Network, talking about how do I know that I can trust my knowing. Stay tuned, my friends. We will be right back.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. Or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Hey, my friends, thank you so much for sticking around tonight. We are talking about how do I know that I can trust my knowing? So how many of you out there doubt yourself? How many of you doubt yourself to the point that you're looking to everyone else for the quote-unquote right answer? Have you ever been using your mind to figure out what's the right choice, what's the good decision, what's the best decision to make? Well, let me just tell you, and Alfie Joe actually said it in the chat room, your knowing does not come from your brain. Now, you have knowledge in your brain, knowledge that you have learned perhaps in school or taken some courses. You have knowledge. But knowing comes from a deeper sense within you. Most of us are looking for evidence of knowing to be true before we will actually trust it and move forward. Okay? That's knowledge. You're looking for knowledge. I'm talking about knowing. You know the knowing that's in your gut, that you know like you know like you know. You perhaps can't give quote-unquote evidence to it, but there is undoubtedly something within you that is pulling you forward. And oftentimes, your knowing doesn't make sense to most other people. And sometimes, it may not make sense to you either. But as you begin to hone your knowing, as you begin to exercise that muscle more and more, you will begin to trust it. And the very cool thing happens. As you begin to hone that and you begin to acknowledge your knowing and you're trusting it more and more, the very cool thing happens is your capacity with your knowing expands exponentially. it expands faster and faster and faster. And that's the really cool thing about knowing, is that it becomes so easeful that you don't have to take any time to check it. You don't have to take any, you don't have to wring out your hands worrying whether you've made the right choice or not. You don't actually have to, make the choice and then wait with, holding your breath, waiting to see if that actually was the quote-unquote right thing. Because when you begin to exercise that muscle, you choose following your knowing, and whatever gets created, you begin to ask more questions again, whether it's the great outcome from it or it created something that you weren't expecting, good, bad, or otherwise. Okay? This is about really fine-tuning that knowing into a place of adventure. So I'm going to give you a really, really simple thing that you can do to start trusting your knowing. Acknowledgement is the key. Acknowledgement is the key. So start with something simple. Start with something so ridiculously simple that you're going to be like, oh, Christine, come on, I already know that. Okay? But start with something ridiculously simple. Start to ask yourself some questions each day. If you have a book, if you have a journal, or even on your phone, write down some of these things. So the first thing that I would do is ask yourself some silly little questions that, it's going to be simple for you to get a yes or a no to. So here's a question. So what do I know? What do I know about my child? So does my child love me? Do you get a yes or a no? Do you get a light or a heavy? So a light or a heavy does it light you up? Is it something so does it make you giggle? Do you feel some kind of excitement energy in your body, right? That's light. If you ask the question and you get like this sad energy or this heavy energy or an angry energy, frustration in your body, anything starts to stir up for you, that's a no. That's how you can simply ask the question and then follow your knowing. So start out with some really simple things. You can even write down something like, do we have milk in the fridge? Yes, no. Yes, cool. Then go to the fridge and see if it's there. Now, you may already know that it's there. That's fine. You could ask a follow-up question if you know the milk's there. Do we have enough milk for the week? And then go to the fridge. So start to play with some simple things and then start to turn it up. Start to turn these things up, but keep documenting. So will I have fun today? Truth. Yeah, I got a yes. I'm going to have some, right? Malitza asked a question, is the milk rotten? I love that. That's a great question. So as you start to trust more and more and more, and you start to see evidence of this, you will strengthen that muscle of your knowing. And when you do this, when you ask the question and you're willing to trust your knowing, so I'm getting a yes that I'm going to have an adventure today. Cool. Trust your knowing. Let it go. And then at the end of the day, look back on what you wrote down and go, did I have an adventure today? And the adventure, now if you don't quantify the adventure of how the adventure needs to look, that's cool. The adventure could show up in many different ways. So you see, in this, you start to get evidence. Now, why do we need evidence? Because guess where the doubt is? We've got to squash the doubt. And guess where the doubt resides? The doubt resides in your mind. It is where you've been. That's where all of those thoughts or those messages have been projected at you are stored. when somebody says you have no idea what you're doing. Boom, doubt, right? When people go, well, that was a really stupid choice, or wow, you really suck at that. And you start, that doubt just gets heavier and heavier and heavier. Most people do not have a very natural confidence. This world operates in religion, in society, in schools, in anything quote-unquote formal that's trying to control you. The underlying tool to control someone is to project doubt into their world so that they will follow the rules, right? That's where they turn us into these little robots where we all do what we're told to do. How, if you are following what someone is telling you to do, how can you possibly trust your own knowing? Right? Makes total sense. And so it's not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. You just have been so programmed into not trusting you so you could be controlled that it's just, your knowing has just been pushed way, way down inside of your capacity. And I'm here to tell you that it's still there, that we just need to dust it off and we need to bring it forward. Here's a tool that I use all the time with both myself and my clients. If you want to turn off your brain, now if you're driving, please do not do this. But if you want to turn off your brain and check into your knowing, close your eyes, my friends. Close your eyes right now and ask yourself, what do I know about my knowing? Ask yourself, what comes up for you? When you're going to ask yourself a question, so let's say you're looking at 2 different houses to move to, right? Close your eyes, take a deep breath, just kind of let all the noise from your reality just kind of fade away for a few minutes. So truth. Which house would be the greatest contribution for me? The blue house or the red house? And just follow your gut. Follow that knowing within inside of you. And then when I ask that question, I got the red house. Okay? So somebody out there obviously is looking, who's listening is looking at a blue or a red house. Love how this stuff comes forward. So now ask yourself, how much fun could I be having in that red house? And without the answers, did your body get excited? Or did your body start to contract? Did you start to have intense feelings in your body? Or did your mind start to kick in again and give you all the reasons and justifications not to choose the red house? Closing off your mind allows you to get farther in touch with and turn up the volume of your knowing. And as you practice this again and again and again, eventually you will ask these questions without having to close your eyes. And you will just get a hell yes or a hell no. Now, here's something that I would like to say. When you are practicing your knowing, be gentle with yourself. When you practice anything, like Alfie Joe would totally agree, that if you are practicing an instrument, right, you have to practice and practice and practice. And when you get to that space of learning a new song or learning how to work a new instrument, you aren't going to, quote unquote, trust yourself until you see the evidence of it, right? And so you're going to look to, did that sound right? Do I feel comfortable in how I played that instrument? But you're going to be gentle with yourself, I hope, at the beginning of practicing how to play an instrument, because you're just first starting to learn it. And I love Elfie Joe has a show here on the network called Musical Magic with Elfie Joe, and she plays her instruments during her shows. You've got to check out her shows; they're fabulous. But when she's playing them, she has sometimes screwed up a note, and she'll just say, "Oh, that didn't work out that great. Oh, whatever," and she will just keep choosing it. So she doesn't go into the judgment of herself. She just continues to choose it and to practice it again and again. So would you be willing to use that same method when it comes to learning to trust your knowing? So you may not right out of the gate trust your knowing 100%. And if you're looking at other people and how they trust their knowing and comparing yourself to how they do it, you're going to doubt yourself even more. There's never been anybody like you, and there's never been anybody that's had the knowing that you have. You'll never have the same knowing as someone else's, and they'll never have yours. So comparing yourself to someone else or how they get their knowing, it's actually cutting off and it's insulting your capacities. So would you be willing to just start to tap into what actually works for you and allow your knowing to come? When we get back from our next break, I'm going to tell you how I started to trust my knowing and some of the tools and some of the ways that my body started to teach me to trust my knowing. All right, everyone, you are listening to Inspired Choices Radio Show here on the Inspired Choices Network with myself, Christine McIver, and tonight we're talking about how do I know that I can trust my knowing. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message? The world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. Or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Oh, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight and sticking around and playing. We're talking about knowing. And how do I know that I can trust my knowing? Well, one of the big things is when you really do want to make some big choices and really follow yourself to great success, especially, if you're looking at a business or you're looking at a relationship, trusting your knowing is really, really critical. Now, every time that, I'm looking at something, I may reach out to someone who has capacities, psychic capacities, that to support me in looking at something, to support me with some of the things that they know, and then really checking in with, does that resonate? Because sometimes we are looking at something, and because we're so close to it, we start to have some challenges to getting with clarity. So I've used psychics for many, many years. We all have psychic abilities, okay? You could call them people that have strong knowing. You don't have to use the quote-unquote psychic word if that really throws you off. but somebody that's strong knowing, and they can really tap into something, following the energy, really seeing how your energy maybe perhaps changes based on questions, and as they support you in that, you will start to get more and more and more awareness for yourself. So as you do this, again and again and again, you will get to that space of, okay, so what questions can I ask here? Now, there are psychics out there who will project a superior attitude towards you. And they want to make themselves significant. They don't actually desire to help you strengthen your knowing. There's many other ones out there that actually will encourage you to grow within your own knowing. And oh my gosh, it's so funny. So Milica Jelenic is one of the people that I work with very closely and have for a number of years. And we've talked about this, and it was through a conversation that she actually came up with a program that she does, a year-long program, which refers to Milica, what's the name of that program again? Sorry, it's just leaving my mind. But your capacity to know can grow with the support of an amazing facilitator who has honed their knowing, honed their psychic abilities. So in joking around, calling people that tell us what they know and kind of projecting at us, we call them superior assholes. And I joked with Milica once, and I said, Milica, you're great at your psychic abilities. And something came up about superior assholes. So she came up with this title, Insight from a Superior Asshole. It's fabulous. She does a lot of readings for a group of us each and every week and invites us into expanding into what we know with what she knows. So it's a great place for us to be able to exercise our knowing. You too can do this with your knowing. You too can begin to exercise what you know by step one is start asking some questions with your eyes closed, out of your mind. Start making notes of some very small areas where you wrote down, this is what I know, and you followed it and you started to get confirmation. Now, if you write down 10 things, okay? You write down 10 things. Okay, this is what I know. And you write these 10 things down, and then you go about your day, and you get confirmation on all 10, okay? All 10 of those things occurred, or you checked in on these 10 different things, and you got, 2 of the 10 right. That would be 25%. If you're just beginning, I think that's pretty cool to have 25% of your knowing confirmed. Now, if you did that every day for 30 days, do you believe that your knowing would get stronger or weaker? Now, if you're going for perfection, you're going to judge it, and doing that, whenever judgment comes in, you start to cut off your knowing. So your numbers actually drop to 0. And then what will happen very, very quickly is you're going to stop this practice. And you're going to turn up the doubt even more in your world, and you're going to walk away from what you truly, truly know. That is not cool. Because what happens is when you trust you and you follow your knowing, you start to expand more joy in the world. You start to expand more possibilities in the world. You start to bring in new ideas that have never, ever been here. And that, my friends, creates a world where we are creating what we know is possible, where we know that the anger and the strife and the lack does not have to continue to the level that it has. You trusting your knowing changes the world. You trusting you expands everything. And you allowing yourself to grow into your knowing and be kindness with that always, always, always creates a world where more things are truly, truly possible. So here's my question to you. Are you willing to trust your knowing? Are you willing to trust your knowing? Are you willing to allow yourself to grow into your knowing with kindness that like you would give to anybody else? Are you? Here's the thing. You wouldn't look at a child that was learning to walk and if they fell down a couple times say to them, okay, well, you clearly suck at this, so you might as well just sit down for the rest of your life, right? You wouldn't do that. Who would do that? You would encourage them to try again. You would encourage them. It's not that difficult. You got this. You would maybe give them little tools to help them along the way. Well, that's what I'm inviting you into. I'm inviting you into using some tools that will begin to strengthen this. Now, let me ask you this, my friends. Has there ever been anything, even if you are 60 years of age, has there ever been anything that was a hell yes in your world that you really didn't have evidence to? Like if you're a parent, did you ever know, oh my gosh, I got to call the school, something's going on. I just get this gut that something's happening, right? I know I have. I know many parents that even parents that have said they don't believe in quote-unquote psychics or having a psychic capacity or following their knowing have absolutely sworn to. What about people who they got some kind of message? Maybe they were woke up in the middle of the night and they suddenly thought of a parent and the parent had passed away. Have you ever had that happen? Have you ever known anybody and they just knew? I certainly know that I have. I woke up in the middle of the night. This was in 1983. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And my phone rang. And my aunt had been dying of cancer for some time. And when I picked up the phone, no one was there. And the first thought I had was of her. Now, I didn't have a thought that she had died. She just jumped into my mind. And the next day, I got a phone call that she had passed. So what did I know? Right? What did I know? I'll tell you something. I was, when I started in radio in 2011. And when I got a phone call, and the person on the other end was asking me if I'd ever thought about doing that and did I want to do it, everything in my body got excited. It was a friggin' hell yes. And I had absolutely no knowledge of how to do radio. I had no knowledge of what it was going to take to do radio. I had no knowledge of, what it was going to create. I had absolutely nobody in my world that had ever done radio that I could contact. But I'm telling you, every single solitary thing in my body got so excited that I started to kind of like laugh and giggle and cry all at the same time. It was like my body was screaming at me, this is your knowing. Choose this. And oh my gosh, I am so friggin' grateful that I stayed out of my own way. And by staying out of my own way, I mean I didn't go into my head to reason and justification it, looking for the evidence one way or the other. I'm so grateful that I didn't do that because I now have been doing radio for 8 years. And I have met so many amazing people from around the world. And in doing radio, I have developed my voice in the world. I have developed what it is that lights me up and turns me on. I have developed my capacities in so many ways by allowing myself to be on the radio and live radio, not creating a podcast where I can edit it. Live radio where I got to step up. I got to step up my game more and more and more. I challenge myself each and every time I do radio to step up my game, and so does every other live radio show host. And because of me really choosing to challenge myself and continue to follow what lights me, even when I feel like, oh my God, this is insane, something is always amazingly created out of this. And when I did this, and I kept following my knowing because of that choice, this new creation, the Inspired Choices Network, is here in the world. Now, I didn't create this alone. Absolutely not. But I had to choose it. And I had to follow my gut. And now, because of this, there's been so many amazing other people that I adore, that I have had the pleasure of working with and supporting to bring their voice into the world here on the network. And so many listeners and so many other people that we receive messages from, emails and comments from, that they're so grateful they got something out of that radio show. And that truly began with me taking that step. So, my friends, I want you to know that there are places in your life where you absolutely knew and you followed your knowing, but then you probably just pushed it aside as, that was just a one-off. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're willing to really acknowledge your capacities with your knowing, it's not a one-off, and it can get stronger and stronger. Okay, we are going to go to our final break of the show. You are listening to the Inspired Choices Network, and I am Christine McIver here on the Inspired Choices Radio Show. When we get back, we're going to wrap up with some tools for following and trusting your knowing. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to have pleasure with your business? Yes, I said pleasure with your business. The Pleasure of Business a la carte will surprise you with topics like meet yourself in the boardroom, money, services, and you. Expand your visibility. The pleasure of communication. The pleasure of Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Christine McIver has so much pleasure with business and loves teaching all things business. Beginning a new business? Desiring to expand a current business? Or looking to resurrect a business that has been dormant? This program will get you fired up and bring more pleasure than you have ever imagined. Exhausted with your excuses for not creating a phenomenal business? Join now for all the pleasure with business. Pleasure of Business a la carte gives you total choice for what you desire and what your business requires. That's 24 weeks of different topics to choose from with weekly calls, audio and video recordings, and PDFs. This class will have you dive right in and use tools to create the business that has been speaking to you. Go to inspiredchoices.ca for full details or join the Facebook page Pleasure of Business a la carte. Now is the time for you and your business.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. Or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for sticking around tonight. Oh my gosh, this show has gone so quickly, which many of the shows do. But I'm so glad that that I did bring this forward and I was vulnerable with you, because you know what? I know somebody out there right now is listening to this and they're now beginning to say, hell yes, I'm going to learn to start to trust my knowing. So what have we talked about? First of all, we've talked about that you have always known, but you were not encouraged. You were not motivated. You were not actually, trusting your knowing was not fostered as part of growing up. It was actually making the right decisions, and that's based on, oftentimes on fear. Next week's radio show is called, Are You Motivated by Fear or Desire? And we're going to be doing that, and we're going to be talking more about this fear and desire and how it kind of starts and stops us in lots and lots of different ways. So that'll be a fun show. I'd love for you to connect with me on that one. So the really important thing here about your knowing is just, even if you've only ever had a couple of times where you knew in your gut that something was true, that if you would just hold on to those as evidence for your mind that's trying to stop you all the time, that, and you start to invoke these tools that I've talked about, you will start to turn up your knowing more and more and more. And again, my friends, there's lots of great professionals out there, myself included, that can start to support you in your knowing. And as your body begins to talk to you and to show you different things, it'll get stronger and stronger and stronger if you will ask your body to show you. That's a great tool. You can say, body, show me what I know. Body, show me what will be the greatest contribution. One of the ways that my body shows me is she burps. Whenever my body burps, and it's a very funny thing, and at first I was quite embarrassed by it, but it's just a moving, some way that my body can be quote-unquote loud for me while I begin to trust my knowing. Melissa says it's sexy. I don't know, Melissa, if you think it's sexy, but what's really cool, though, is that as I trusted my knowing, the burping has actually subsided a great deal, and my body doesn't have to be as loud because I'm listening more intently, and at the same time trusting that I will get the message that will guide me forward for me. My friends, please remember this: nobody ever knows more about you than you. You, my friends, you have the capacity. Now's the time to turn it up, to create something greater than we've ever had before. I adore each and every one of you. I would love for you to connect with me. I would love to chat with you about how we can turn that up. And I would also love to invite you back next week to the radio show and listen to all these other amazing hosts on the network. I'm telling you, the material here is fantastic. Until next time, remember, you can always make another choice. Bye for now, my friends.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.